a 2, a 3, a 4.
We are Movie Menu Reviews. Let's put a smile on that face. Ooh. On today's menu, we'll be reviewing Joker. Welcome, ladies and gents. I'm Dan the Man Muñoz, host of Movie Menu Reviews, your weekly movie news and reviews podcast.
I pity the fool.
We are back from hiatus. I mean, technically, we did have a bonus episode for It, Chapter 2,
That's right.
but
Yeah,
we are
we did.
officially back for the fall season, the Oscar season, the
A-team season.
A-team season.
Yes.
Technically our 18 season, but we are the A-team because we are joined by special guest Heather McLane.
Hey guys.
You like that segue, right?
That was
That was pretty good.
Though other people that make up the A-team, for some reason, is my my co-host and senior panelist Z.
I pity the fool.
you are the Mr. T of this group.
Mr. C.
So
Wow. That's good.
Who
Yeah.
would everyone? It's my co-host Mike Stan.
Hey.
Who would everyone be? I guess I would be the face.
But you went from the worst segue or the best segue to the worst segue, like in
That's
a matter
Dan,
of seconds.
Because he now forgot the A-team. Good
I
job,
did.
Dan.
I might literally look it up right now because I'm like, who are the characters in there? 'Cause
That's
I do not
okay.
remember.
You can be the one drunk dude.
Oh no, Mike is Hannibal.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
And
Hannibal's a cool character.
Heather's like
Like-
the guest of the week.
Yay.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right.
So we are happy to be back. Thank you so much if you're watching us live on Facebook. We appreciate it. Or if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or wherever you listen to your podcast, we appreciate it. Also want to go ahead and do a shout out that this in a couple weeks, October 20th, we're going to be hosting our very first film festival of guests that we've had on our movie menu interviews.
Yeah.
So be lookout on social media for that. That's some exciting stuff that's going to happen. It's going to be at the Company of Angels Theater here in Los Angeles. And we will go ahead and be posting very soon about that. So keep your eye out.
Cool.
So let's go ahead and talk about the Joker. Or actually, Joker.
Yes, not the Joker, just Joker.
So Joker... it is directed by Todd Phillips, written by Todd Phillips and Scott Silver. It stars Joaquin Phoenix, Robert De Niro, Zazie Beetz, Francis Conroy, and Brett Cullen. Here's the plot. A gritty character study of Arthur Fleck, a man disregarded by society. All right, guys, so depending on your spoiler-free review, we shall collectively decide if this movie is worth a dine-in, watch it in theaters, take out, way to watch it at home, or leftovers. Great chaos and then
No.
avoid this film.
Watch Suicide Squad.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Watch the Jared Leto.
Yeah, because that
Joker.
was the worst this Joker ever.
And now, Heather, you as a guest have an option of winning a point if you go ahead and win
Woo.
the review. And if
Which you will.
we'll
let's
see,
face
we'll
it.
see. And if
we're
you
just
have
gonna
up to
all
10
agree.
points, Heather, you could turn them in for doing your own segment of your choosing, movie related. Or you could go ahead and Z will pay for you to get some.
I'm
get some
sorry,
food.
what?
He
You were
will,
just volunteered.
he will buy you a boba, or he will buy you a burrito, or a torta, or horchata, something. So up to 10 points, you get like a reward.
Okay.
As a thank you for tolerating us for like at least 10 episodes or whatever.
So if I win, I either get to do work or get free stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, pretty much.
All from
Okay.
Z.
Thank you, Z.
Shut up.
All right. On that note, let's go ahead and give our ratings. Rate this film. Heather, as our guest, you can go first.
I'm gonna give it a hard dine in.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it, Heather. These guys influence you to say hard and soft and all that stuff. That's like you did it on purpose because you know that's my pet peeve.
Yes, because you don't like hard things. We get it.
Not at all.
Moving on.
Speaking of hard things,
Yeah.
Z, would you rate this film?
How did you know? I'm gonna say that this is probably. I've never actually considered this, but this might actually be in the top 99% of like walking away from this movie. This is a near perfect film, so it's definitely a hard dine-in.
Okay.
I don't know about
Yeah, I don't know
that.
about that
We can talk about it.
Okay.
We will talk about
But
it.
we will talk about that.
Yes.
Yeah. Mike, what about you?
I'm gonna say dine-in as well.
Okay, and
So not there's so late. Yeah.
so again, this is the first time we are collectively talking about this film. We
Yes.
didn't really talk about it before.
And you're gonna say
Um,
what?
And I'm going to go ahead and give it also a dine-in.
Okay,
But I do not agree that it's 100% perfect film.
sure.
But that's
okay.
just my
Hey,
opinion.
he said 99
I see. I'm saying it's. I've seen it twice now.
already.
Yes.
All right.
Because the first time I was impacted by it emotionally, and I walked away from it, being a little emotionally scarred by it. And then the second time watching it, I was watching for the reactions of other people, but at the same time with an awareness of what the twists would be. And so with that being said, I paid more attention to the cinematography, the music, the composition score, and
I would
even
agree.
at that, like
I
Joaquin
would
Phoenix's
agree.
performance.
In that aspect, the film really thrives and really raises its stakes in that the cinematography, the music, the performances are really elevated in this film.
Yeah, and I think so. I think just starting off, it's funny because on IMDb it doesn't actually indicate that this movie is a Joker movie without obviously the title being the major hint. It is a character study of Arthur Fleck, and I think that the work here by Scott Silver, and obviously we have Todd Phillips who is co-writer, but he, a director usually takes co-writer status because they've edited the movie in a certain way. But I would say that this is more of a Scott Silver movie because that guy, he's written The Finest Hour, The Fighter, and 8 Mile. So this is a writer who knows how to write dirty and gritty films. And he does such a good job of telling you a story of a character who is falling down. And that's another movie that really this movie reminded me of was a movie called Falling Down. I don't know if you guys ever watched that
Yeah.
one.
Literally the
Remember
movie.
Yeah, it was called and
I
it was
remember that.
it was such a great movie. And I think watching this movie, you're not watching a hero, you're not watching anything aside from a man who's falling apart. And I think that there are several depictions in this film, especially through the character study of what people with mental illness suffer through. And I thought it was such an amazing depiction of that with the added element of it being a comic book movie.
Which is great, and I do applaud it with that because obviously in the field that we work in Z, that we see this and we see how Joaquin Phoenix is able to transform himself into a realistic person who is spiraling downward into a pit of madness.
Yeah.
Which I really enjoyed watching. My only thing about it was that it was also the Joker.
Yes.
And
And you had a problem with that.
a little bit.
Why?
Well, we'll talk about that in spoilers.
Okay, fair
Oh,
enough. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But yeah, so what did you guys take away from the story? Did you guys like the way that the movie went?
It kind of reminded me of American Psycho. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, absolutely.
Where,
Yeah.
where there's this where at some point you just don't know if you don't know what's happening is real or
Yeah.
just in his head.
Absolutely.
And that makes you question a lot of what's going on, which I enjoyed.
Which I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and this movie is like a faux sequel to King of Comedy. If you guys ever watched that one, that was a Scorsese film.
Well, there's a lot of Scorsese influence.
Yeah,
in this
with Taxi
film.
Driver as well. But I would say King of Comedy is probably
And-
the most akin to this.
Well, even though Martin Scorsese, who was rumored to produce this film
Yes.
and didn't, his producing partner did produce this
Yeah.
film. So it still has like shades of that era. In it.
It does.
He was originally tied into this as producer, right?
Yeah.
Right, and then he ended up leaving.
It
But
was
his
The
but his-
Irishman.
But the Irishman took over. But his producing partner still produced this.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I think that the other part of me that really connected, not with the character, because you can't connect with Arthur at all. But
That's not true.
Yeah, actually, I feel like you can. It's an interesting, especially because it's his origin story, and you know that this character is very mentally ill.
Yes.
But this does give him a little bit of humanity.
Oh, it does.
You can
No, yeah.
I can start to see things from his perspective, and that he really was. Yes, he's mentally ill, but he makes a valid point himself.
Oh,
that
absolutely.
It's a combination of mental illness and
the system.
society. Yeah.
No. What I meant by like connecting with him is that you can't. There's a fine line between empathy and sympathy, and I think walking away from this movie, we feel a sympathy for the character, but we can't really empathize with somebody who's killed and who kills so often and so graphically. That's what I mean by it. Like we understand what he's going through, but we're not in his shoes. And my brother who walked away going he was saying like, I don't understand, some of the musical cues were a little weird. And I was like, no. The purpose of that is for you to feel off, because he's experiencing this joyous moment, even with the dancing that he does in this film. He's experiencing this joy, and you feel disconnected from that. In the same way when he's in the comedy club in the very early bit of the movie, and everybody is laughing at the jokes, and he's not laughing with the jokes. And that's what you're meant to have. And I think that the way that this movie was directed and acted was in purpose of making you feel disconnected from the character. And it does such a good job because Joaquin Phoenix sells that so well.
And that is his character, is being disconnected from his emotions and, his, I don't want to spoil, but his situation, his main problem with his like personality trait is that actual fact of being off, being disconnected in that way.
Yeah.
Well, I like the way that the story is told as well, because there's like unreliable narrative in there, but it's like used in such a fantastic way. And that type of narrative is not used, or when it's used, it could be easily done wrong. Yeah. And they used it to its advantage in this film, using mental illness.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think back to movies like M. Night Shyamalan's films where there's like an obvious twist and you feel kind of like, oh, if I, but this movie has moments in which you really feel akin to Christopher Nolan, where he'll make movies that are really smart and he expects you to follow with him. And I think that this movie has those moments where like it doesn't dumb things down. It actually it expects you to understand what's going on. And I think that that's a really clever way of doing storytelling, in a similar way of like Memento or any of the old film noir films, where they really kind of expect you to be able to follow through and not believe the narration, because there is no narration in this movie. But the whole movie is told from the perspective of the character. There's never one scene without the Joker character really being, Arthur being in the movie. And I think that right there was just an amazing way of depicting this very dirty, gritty noir style that Todd Phillips directed. And mind you, as a reminder of Todd Phillips is the director of The Hangover movies.
Yeah. The trilogy.
Yeah, the trilogy.
When he went downward, I guess his downward of The Hangover 1 to 3 and all the depression he must have gotten from the crap that it probably was built, but this movie is. Well, more seriously, Todd Phillips did have some really controversial reasonings of why he did this film.
Yeah.
Basically, he wanted to give up comedy because he felt like comedy is too PC now.
Yeah.
That you can take risks. And,
he did say that, yeah.
And so he's like, he feels bad for all the comedians out there that are getting like backlashes from saying stuff.
Yeah.
And but what do you guys think about that?
Well, I think that Todd Phillips, who directed the Hangover films, and if anyone's seen them, they're nihilistic, they're narcissistic, and they're very cynical, which describes the Joker character. And so I feel like Todd Phillips was the right person for this job. Now, do I agree with him in comedy being very limited in what you can say? Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, Dave Chappelle did a whole stand-up and he got a lot of heat from it, but nobody rejected his opinion because he was right. Comedy has become very PC. You can't say certain things, and you don't have to look further past than the guy who directed Guardians of the Galaxy. James Gunn. Yeah. James Gunn lost his job because what he had said, 5-10 years ago, he publicly apologized about it, but some right-wing, person came out and made it a big thing. He got fired from his job because he was a comedian making jokes. The same thing can be said about the guy who's going to host the Oscars. Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Their comedy is a very difficult field right now, and obviously you can look at the Joker and what he says about comedy.
I agree and I disagree because comedy is always evolving. But this is again not a discussion about the era of comedies.
Yeah.
But I guess in a sense it is because of the Joker.
Yeah.
But okay, go ahead and continue about what's your thoughts of the comedic part of the Joker, of him being a stand-up comedian.
Well, he's not a very good one.
It's very interesting too because like you do get to hear some of the other stand-up comedians in the background, and it's actually not bad.
Yeah.
I was like, that was pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah. I was like,
this is a good set.
I was like, yeah. I was like, that's some pretty good observation. I don't know if Joker could kind of like lead into that.
Well,
like,
he could.
He's already
like,
gonna
he
bomb.
was like a ninth grader trying to do stand-up comedy.
Yeah. And
I will say I did like his first joke though.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny.
If he could tell it right.
The funny thing is, well, no, I guess we shouldn't talk about
okay.
that.
So, let's. If you could tell, right? So he does suffer from a traumatic brain injury, right? That's what Joaquin Phoenix was studying when he was looking into the laugh and how do you get the laugh. So the TBI that he has, and it's talked about in the movie, is a condition. He calls it a condition, and so he laughs at the wrong times. He just can't help it, and he'll do this really
it's almost
nasty
like
laugh.
Tourette's.
It almost seems like a tic or a Tourette's, and it's aggressive because you see him suffering.
Yeah, it's painful. It hurts him.
And I don't know if you guys tried doing the laugh after watching the movie, but I did, and my throat started hurting because it's such an effort that you need to push out that much in that way and tone that your throat hurts. So if you can imagine you doing it and then seeing this character who's actually suffering and holding his throat and he cannot help it at all. There's this beautiful moment in the trailer, and it's in the movie, where he's trying to make a child laugh, and in the movie he starts laughing and he cannot stop himself, and you immediately feel connected to the character. And so that's that TBI that he can't control, and that's what leads to the bomb that he does when he goes on, does the stand-up.
And that's a real thing, because when I worked at this place, there were people who would laugh uncontrollably.
Yeah.
Could you say exactly what TBI stands for?
No. No, traumatic brain injury.
Oh, got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So TBI is a traumatic brain injury,
Gotcha.
and it's due to trauma. It's due to and also a brain injury. So, say for example, he got hit in the head.
Gotcha.
That would cause something like that. Yeah. Go
We
ahead.
do have some comments.
Yeah.
So Regal says no, according to your review, your rating, I should say.
Well, then you're wrong, but you know that because your name is Rigo.
What's up, Rigo?
Then we have a couple people that are giving you shout out, Z.
Oh, nice.
Yanin Mendez Barba.
Oh, hi.
And Alberto Barba Moreno.
Hey, how's it going?
They said hi, and they say they love your work, and felicidades.
Thank you.
And then JJ Soda, who's a friend to the show, says he gave it a soft dine-in because he says there's something that they put in the end that made him roll his eyes. So
interesting.
Oh, I'm curious to find out.
You can wait for our spoiler.
Rigo had to.
Did he spoil it?
No. He had to. He's not referring to review. He's referring to the comments about soft or hard.
Okay, we'll leave that for the end. Just like he likes it.
Wow.
But okay, so
we're off the hinges now, folks.
We are really off the hinges. All right, Joaquin Phoenix. What did you guys think of Joaquin Phoenix?
Thought he was great.
I would not be surprised if he's nominated.
Right. Like,
he will be.
People are talking about Robert Downey Jr. getting being nominated. They're petitioning for him to be nominated. But right. I feel like even if Joaquin Phoenix was going up against Robert Downey,
say that again.
Joaquin.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
it's like Cool Whip or what?
Yes, did you hear it too? Sorry,
yeah. How do you pronounce it?
Joaquin.
Why do you say like walking? His name is.
Joaquin,
there's a J in there.
Joaquin Phoenix.
There's a J in there. Anyways, Walking Phoenix. You can say Walking Phoenix.
It's a Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
Cool. It's just the accent. Why are you making fun of his accent?
Sorry.
Yeah, dick.
Go on.
Anyways.
Oh, like you guys didn't make fun of me about ninjas.
Oh, wait. How do you say ninja?
To backtrack for a second and make fun of you, Dan, when you did
Shut
the Joker laugh, it sounded like one of those like Halloween witch toys that like are motion activated. Sorry. I love you.
It's because you were my inspiration, Heather.
Oh. No.
Go on.
Back to the acting. Yes.
What did you think about his performance, Z?
I think he's going to win the Oscar. I think if I don't know who else will be nominated with him, but I think that his multi-layered performance, was so amazing that, like, again, part of me just thinks that this movie is resting on his shoulders, his very frail shoulders. He lost weight for it. He does things with his body.
He's a method actor, so he
is.
really goes full into a role. Like, he doesn't turn his brain off of the character. He is the character living as him as the production is rolling.
Which is amazing.
But also, can they please stop having method actors play Joker? Like, what are we doing?
One died already, guys. Come on, no.
Good point.
But no, he does things with his body.
Jared Leto is also method. So.
I know, I'm aware. He sent condoms to people.
Oh, and dead rats.
And dead rats. But back to Joaquin Phoenix. Again, that's how his name is pronounced. What
was it again?
He does things with his body. And there are moments in this movie where you'll see him do a very, like, I want to say like an effeminate dance.
It looked like he was doing. I was like, is he doing like Tai Chi movements or something? I was trying to figure out.
I would say that it's a coping strategy that someone may like. I saw it as a coping strategy of, like, this is how he exemplifies how he's feeling internally through dance. And there is a movie.
It's almost like if someone is, like, high on drugs and they feel the music
similar,
or feel
yeah.
like, so he's like has that moment where he has to.
But there's a moment where he's writing a joke and he does the weird like he does it again very.
Can you do it, Z?
Before he goes on stage,
and then he uses his left hand versus his right hand to write. And again, it's like that's interesting movement that he does that triggers a different part of his, like, it's like, you just see it and you're like, wow, that's an amazing depiction of what he's suffering through.
But no, also, like, the other, like, when he like in the beginning of the film and in another part of the film, when he was fully the clown, he did the dance moves.
Yeah.
And it's what made him happy.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was reminiscent of when he was happy doing these jobs.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting to talk about it that way as a coping mechanism because he can't express himself the way he wants to. Like, his emotions and his brain don't connect in a way to express, but that is his way of expressing how he feels since he can't verbalize it, right?
Yeah.
He laughs at the wrong times and he can't laugh when he wants to, but that's a really fascinating way to look at that.
Yeah, no. And again, that's all the Joaquin Phoenix and how he's performing it, because it's just amazing to see an actor who's using the physicality of his body to really show you what he's, because I watched the movie twice and there's not a huge amount of dialogue in this movie. It's a lot of him just showing you with his face, and it's like, wow, like, again, he deserves the Oscar because he did so much with his body and with his ability to express things with his words when you finally see him when he becomes the Joker, that it's like that. I don't like, this is something at the level of
like Christian
Bale, and I'm thinking about There Will Be Blood, like Daniel Day-Lewis. Like, it actually, this movie reminded me, especially that ending reminded me a lot of There Will Be Blood, just like of that, like, release of like all the stuff that's being held in, and Joaquin Phoenix just shows you all of that with his final movement. We'll talk about that when we get there, but it's just an amazing depiction of what he was suffering through.
Now, what did you guys think about the rest of the cast in the film? Francis Conroy, Zazie Beetz, Robert De Niro. How was everyone else that was around the world of Arthur Fleck?
It was a solid cast.
Yeah.
And, like, even the smaller characters, there was just such good stuff. And one thing I really, really appreciated about this movie is it's rare when a movie can completely take me off guard.
Yeah.
Like actually have a plot twist or something that's surprising to me, because, you know, movies are kind of formulaic and predictable.
Yeah.
And there was multiple moments in this movie where I was like, what? Oh, or like a hard belly laugh because
something
was
awkward and a nerve happened.
You know what scene I'm talking about. We'll talk about it later, but I was dying of laughter.
Yeah.
It was completely caught me off guard, but
which
brilliant.
I feel like Todd Phillips did on purpose to make you laugh in a very uncomfortable moment.
Yes, it was
Agreed.
perfect way to break the tension.
I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I think I have an idea, and I agree with that.
His friends came to visit him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That was my favorite scene in the whole movie.
But Frances Conroy for me was also like a really amazing supporting actress in that.
The
She
mother.
plays the
I
mom
do love her.
because
Yeah.
there are moments in which you can tell the relationship. And again, looking at it from like a psychological perspective, you look at it and you go like yeah, that's she said things like Arthur, you want to be a comedian, but you have to be funny for that.
Yeah.
And it's
That was
so
great.
demeaning, and you just kind of go like, you cringe at that moment of like, oh, that's horrifying. And it's like those little things that they're lines that you can drop really easily or not even pay much attention to it, but they mean so much to the character. And I think that the Frances Conroy delivering that, even I think she was I think she was naked at the moment, right? She was getting a shower. And it's like this very vulnerable moment, and you can tell that she's the most vulnerable in the room, but she finds a way of making Arthur more vulnerable. And that's impressive to do that. Zazie Beetz, what do you guys think of Zazie?
She was. It's hard to talk about without spoiling it.
Sure.
because it didn't. Yeah.
But as far as like
her performance.
her performance was great though.
Yeah.
It was a great performance.
I really enjoy. I feel like they did a great job including Zazie Beetz because that whole storyline was one of probably the best ones in the film.
I thought
really
so too.
enjoyed that aspect of it.
But she obviously did a fantastic job because I didn't see her the outcome of her storyline.
Yeah.
It caught me by surprise. So it was well done.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah. And Robert Downey Jr. was amazing. Sorry,
No.
Robert Downey Jr. Robert De
I was
Niro.
like,
I was like,
wait.
Wow.
He was in
Ro-
this also. I
Sorry,
didn't even know he.
Robert De Niro.
This is the one he was trying to go for an Oscar.
Yeah.
No, Robert De Niro was fantastic.
was
Okay.
fantastic. Yeah.
It just like it was great to see like the interaction between the two of them. I was like, that
Yeah.
was, and which happens like towards. I don't know if that's.
It's at the end. It's spoilers.
You could see you see that in the trailer,
You do.
don't you?
You do.
Yeah, but just to see like these two actors like bouncing off of each other was amazing.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think Joaquin and Robert they amplify and you really do kind of get this really amazing moment at the very end when they finally do spend time together on the couch, and it feels like electricity. And Robert De Niro is just giving it his all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, this question is mainly for Z, but anyone here can answer it because I'm not sure how much you know about the lore.
Oh, yes.
But what did you think of Brett Cullen as Thomas Wayne? And what do you think about how they made that story of Thomas or how they represented Thomas Wayne in this film?
So Thomas Wayne is a very interesting character in the lore. And so I feel that the way that they described him as a womanizing, this sort of like, wow,
Whoa.
that sounded aggressive. This very like hard individual, was different. However, that the way that they depicted it was for me watching a different version of the DC universe. We haven't even talked about that yet.
Right.
That this is actually DC Dark. They never once showed the DC logo at the beginning of the movie. They only showed it at the very end. So I think that the way that they showed Thomas Wayne was more reminiscent of, say, like the Flashpoint Thomas Wayne, the very aggressive Batman version that he becomes. And so I could see that in the way they performed the role. I think the way that Joaquin Phoenix plays the Joker is also reminiscent of a lot of different Jokers out there, including, of course, Heath Ledger's Joker. You get to see, you can see
It was like an homage.
Homage there for that character. But you also see the character from like the Killing Joke. You
Right.
definitely see the Killing Joke, that moment of release and humor. And also, like, part of me when seeing him on stage with Robert De Niro was a reminiscent also of The Dark Knight Returns, because that scene does happen in that comic book. There's animated movies if you want to skip the comic books, but yeah, I think that the way that they did the lore, how Todd Phillips told us a completely different story, and more importantly, told us a story that you got one perspective, but again, I encourage everyone to rewatch it. You don't get one definitive answer to the Joker lore. You think you do until you watch it again.
I really enjoyed that part because it had you guessing. I felt like people would have been upset but they don't give you definitive answer of who to believe or not. And I really liked how, because we don't spend a lot of time with the Waynes, ever really,
which is great
unless you read the comics, and like Crisis, where we have this whole different perspective of Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed where they took this, because it was an element of the lore that I didn't even expect.
Yeah.
Because Thomas Wayne is always depicted as someone who's like mighty and glory and a great man and like perfect. So I like the grittiness and realness of who he was in this film.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like, he was not the Superman in the film where he was high and mighty. He was a believable person in the film.
Well, and I think, just to I know we want to go into spoilers, but like one of the final things that I enjoyed about this movie is that it's set in 1981. And 1981 is a very important year because this is post Watergate. This is post a lot of the big civil rights movements, and so there was a movement in the 80s where people started seeing, and we have it more now, where you started to mistrust businessmen and people of the government, and Reagan was president during that time, in which he defunded a lot of. I think Reagan was more like 83, but this happened during the Reagan era, where he defunded a lot of the mental health institutions. And so I think that Thomas Wayne plays that role pretty well of mistrust. And even at that, there's one throwaway line in the movie where he all of a sudden inspires the clowns to come out, and you realize that we're looking at a reality that is ripped from the pages. Like, you really do feel like you're in the 80s, and you do feel that moment of like Thomas Wayne just stepped on it, but he's so disconnected, and you can see it from Arthur's perspective. Again, this movie does such a good job of showing you his perspective without putting the narration into his head. And so, I never once agreed with Thomas Wayne, and I think that that's important, because it showed you what it felt like to be in the Joker's shoes.
I think, yes, definitely the 80s, but I also feel like there's a lot of social commentary that's relevant to right now.
That's what I meant.
Movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
Well,
we had a really long, a 2-hour discussion, and it could have, continued, except it was like 3 a.m. at this point, but a 2-hour discussion about things afterwards, and this movie is great for that, because there's a lot of different aspects to look at, and there's a lot of different ways you can relate to current situation.
Which will bring me up to my next question. So when this film, it won the Tiger Award or the Lion Award at the Cannes?
The Toronto.
No. The TIFF and other festivals, they won awards. Yeah. But people were saying that this film kind of like promotes violence and glorifies violence, and it glorifies like the active shooters, or
it doesn't.
The theater in Aurora refused to play this film out of respect to the family, which is understandable.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you guys think about now that you've seen that, and people are saying this being like very film that might be too sensitive for this time? What do you guys think about that?
There's people categorizing this as like another comic book film, and that's a huge mistake.
Yes,
like the whole purpose of the creation of this film was to not be like any other comic book film.
Yeah,
it's standalone, offshoot one, as Z had mentioned before, where it's like. And I know it's been mentioned before, where it's almost like a character study, as you mentioned, Arthur Fleck, who turns into Joker. That's what this is. It's not like a Joker film, or and I know it's inspired of all these references, as you mentioned, but to shoot the film down before even giving it a chance to watch it is a huge mistake.
I agree. Yeah, and very early on, it was being shot down. It was already being criticized before it was released. After watching the movie, I walked away from this movie thinking two things. The people who are commenting about it promoting violence are people who believe sternly that mental illness leads to violence. This movie is not about that. This movie is depicting a character who is, again, you have sympathy for the character and you understand. And even at that, like with that, I don't want to spoil it. We can talk about it more when we get to the spoiler section, because Ashley, my fiance, wrote this amazing description of what his diagnosis is. But for the most part, what you can look at is a character who will reflect society a lot. And I think watching this movie, I walked out of it going, we need more money in mental health. We need to put more money there to help people like him. I worked with these people, and I honestly was like I was in my seat screaming in my head going, if I was there, I could help Arthur. I can help him out. I know it's a little egotistical, but like anybody who's in the mental health field could have assisted him. And there's this great moment in which the social worker says, Arthur, nobody gives a shit about you and nobody gives a shit about me. And that's such a real moment, because defunding of the mental health community is the reason why we have such a huge crisis with the homeless issue right now. And on top of that, there's this great moment in which a character who I would say is probably more closer and akin to a right-wing extremist, who hands Arthur a gun and says, here, to protect yourself. And Arthur tells him solemnly, and he tells him honestly, I'm not supposed to have a gun. But he takes it anyways. And I felt like this movie, people who are commenting about it are more, people who don't believe that mental illness is a thing that needs to be treated. And I think that's a huge problem. Now, do I think that this movie can inspire violence? I talked to my fiance, and she said that actually, if you're already on the edge the same way that Arthur is, this could lead you down that path. In the same way that video games doesn't cause violence, violent people who play video games causes violence. It's just simply, this movie, I think, was showing us what the reality is. And I'll read you the quote for the very end at the spoiler section that was the thesis of the whole movie.
The seed that planted the film.
Yeah, because I think that this movie is a movie that actually, honestly, wins my heart in descriptions of what people with mental illness go through. There's this moment in the trailer that shows you, like, you never listen to me, do you? You never, like, I tell you things and you never listen to me. You ask me if I have negative thoughts. All my thoughts are negative thoughts. I have heard that so many times from clients who are not getting the services they need. And I thought that was an amazing moment. So do I feel like this movie inspires violence? No. Violent people will do violent things. That is without a doubt true. This movie is more a spotlight on what needs to be done with the help needed for mental illness.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, it is.
I agree.
It's a great depiction of mental illness, and you see the turn, because in the beginning of the film, Arthur is taking medication.
Yeah. And
then when it becomes defunded, like we had talked about, there's no medication to be taken anymore. And then you see that, and I've experienced it. So it was a little too real.
It was
at points.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a little uncomfortable, because I was just like, this is no longer a film. Now it's almost like a documentary.
Yeah.
Where I'm watching this person, because I've seen it before, go in a downward spiral. But that just is a testament to Joaquin Phoenix's performance.
Exactly. Agreed.
And there's definitely a lot of uncomfortableness with this movie. When you're watching it, there's a lot of moments where you're going to feel really uncomfortable, but I really think it's a must-watch film.
Mm-hmm. And it's like just the nuances, like Arthur Fleck just staring out to nothing. It's just him staring.
Yeah.
And as someone's talking to him, and he's not looking at the person, he's just staring into nothingness. That is a thing that happens a lot.
Yeah.
But you really do watch him devolve, because at the beginning he's living a fairly normal life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially for someone in the situation that he's in, and with such a severe mental illness. But and you really do, like, the downward spiral. It's fascinating.
It's a fascinating movie, and I think that I honestly feel like everyone should watch this movie. This movie really kind of like people will watch it for the Joker, but honestly, it's more of like it's a good description of why we need more assistance in the mental health field.
And it even said at the end, when you said they didn't show the DC logo until the end, but it said inspired by DC characters.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In which it really is. It's not about them.
No,
that's the point you made, and it's really accurate, I feel.
Yeah.
Now, one last question before we go to our spoiler section.
Please. Yeah.
Is Joaquin Phoenix your new favorite Joker, or who is your favorite Joker that's played the role so far?
Damn, that's a good question. Mike.
I'll go first. I did enjoy Joaquin Phoenix's performance a lot,
Yeah.
but Heath Ledger will always still be my favorite.
Do you feel okay? I'm gonna say that I think that Joaquin Phoenix doesn't actually play the Joker.
Yeah,
I was just thinking that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and we'll talk about it during the spoilers.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah,
Very good.
But
point.
he's up there with Heath Ledger. I think he did an amazing job. But,
Oh, yeah.
But we'll talk about him more during spoilers.
We have a comment.
Okay.
So JJ Sarada said Z hit it right on the point about mental illness. I teared up with what he said. I know a family with mental illness, and yes, this movie makes it aware of how bad it can be if we don't help people.
Yeah.
And that is like the biggest issue in this country, honestly, is the lack of mental health services and awareness. And I feel like the stigma about dealing with mental illness is
like
dissolving.
seeking help or therapy.
But it's still
there.
a really tough stigma to fight.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this movie, again, people are uncomfortable with it because it shines a spotlight on it. But I think that this is a movie that is needed because, again, you have a lot of people who are saying like, it's people with mental illness who do the shootings. But there's enough descriptions, there's enough situations now that we can say, no, it's the access to guns that makes it easier for violence to happen. Mental illness is something that can be treated in the same way that a cut can be treated, but there's not enough funding available, unlike the healthcare system. Even at that, arguably, the healthcare system sucks too. I don't want to be political. I really don't want to, but this movie does such a good job of just showing you that. And the people who are coming in contrast to this movie are people who don't watch it for what it actually is symbolizing. That people who need help can get help, but there's not enough funding for that. And it's again, it's such a great movie in showing you that.
All right, let's go ahead and head over to the spoilers section.
Yes, we made it.
Okay, hopefully our watchers who are watching this live can see that this is a spoilers section.
We should call them watchers all the time.
Ooh,
the
watchers.
movie menu watchers.
There you go. So turn away right now if you do not want to know what happens at the very end of the movie.
Yeah, so we are entering spoilers territory.
Yes. Spoilers.
You can see it. So you have been warned. If you have not seen the Joker, we highly recommend that you. If you haven't seen Joker, I highly recommend that you stop watching us and come and watch the rest of it when you do watch the film.
Yeah,
you have been warned.
It's like, we love you, but bye.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and go into spoilers.
Yes.
How did you? Let's talk about the rise, or let's talk about him not playing the Joker.
Yeah.
Let's go straight into that.
So
because Yeah, go on.
It's a very interesting. Again, one of the arguments that you can have while watching this movie is that this movie is not, in fact, a Joker movie. It's a proto-Joker movie.
It's an origin story.
It's an origin. No. As in, like, he's a prototype to what the Joker Heath Ledger's becomes. Because what you see is you do see the rise of the Clown Prince, which is, I think, a brilliant way of showing that at the very end, where he has a crowd of people around him cheering him on. And he does the smile with his fingers in the blood, and you see him rise as the Clown Prince. And for me, as a nerd, I love that scene because we always get the description of like the Clown Prince of Gotham, and then all of a sudden you see this really true moment where Arthur gets validated to the point where he becomes and rises as the king. However, is this really a Joker movie? Well, That's a question that I have that I walked away from, because the Joker in the comic books, in the movies, has always been depicted as a psychopath or a sociopath, and in this one he wasn't. He was depicted as a normal person who was suffering through mental illness. He wasn't actually the psychopath that we know as the Joker. So I would say that, are we actually watching a movie of the Joker, or are we watching a movie that is depicting the TV show Gotham's depiction of the Joker, which I thought was a very interesting premise for Todd Phillips to go into. So in the Gotham TV shows, it talks about how there isn't one Joker, there are multiple Jokers, and the Joker essentially...
I thought about that same thing too.
Yeah, the Joker is the symptom of a city that's falling down, that's actually corrupted, and people will rise to be the Joker repeatedly. And I thought that was interesting watching this, because realistically, again...
Like this one moment is inspired the plethora of Jokers that will come in the future.
Because again, the Joker in the comic books and in the TV shows is a psychopath, a man who does not... I mean, look at Jared Leto.
He's a psychopath, but he's also like very intelligent in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't get intelligence with this character, with Arthur.
That's what we were discussing too, like the lack of like cunning.
Yeah,
and
there isn't any forethought. There isn't any planning. Even the Heath Ledger Joker was very cunning and thought things through.
He was always a step ahead of Batman.
Yeah, and
Batman and them are like arch nemesis. Like this, Arthur Fleck would not be. Yeah. Would not be able to handle Batman.
Yeah, I completely agree. And he isn't a psychopath, and he's not he's enjoying killing, but he's not really enjoying it in the way that the Joker, the Heath Ledger Joker, found it as like something you do. You just breathe and you shoot people, right? Like that's what the Joker did there. And even at that, just thinking about like the comic book depictions of Scott Snyder's character of the Joker, this is not that character. It's a completely different character. And I think that's what I loved about this movie, is that it's showing you Arthur Fleck, who becomes a proto Joker and rises to the Clown Prince. But you can also walk away from this movie going, he isn't the Joker. He just isn't, and that's okay. Except
that the film is called Joker. But
no, well, I mean, the film is called Joker because...
It's not the rise of Jokers. It's called the Joker.
But see, here's the other thing.
There's no the.
Here's the other really important thing.
Maybe that's...
But there's no S.
Hold on. Did this movie actually even happen? Or is this just a false narration by the character who we know as the Joker? Because I think see two segments in this movie. One, when the social worker is interviewing him, and she asks, "Why did you go? Why were you taken to a hospital?" And you see him smashing his head, and then you see him wearing the same thing at the very end, being interviewed.
Oh, gotcha.
And so you can really, again, the great thing about the way that Todd Phillips and the writer, I forget the writer's name, Scott Silver, the way that he wrote this movie was that you can actually watch it from a multifaceted perspective of saying this is the Joker, or it's not, or it is a Joker and he's just bullshitting with people. And that's awesome.
That's why I love the unreliable narrative that they have in this film.
Yes.
Because like even the whole storyline with Zazie Beetz' character, like I was like, oh wow, they're really moving fast, and she must be like really low standards, and like not give a shit, because Joaquin Phoenix, Arthur Fleck looked very creepy a lot of the time, and she was okay with him stalking her, and then when they revealed that it was all in his head, I was like, oh, why the fuck did we not think that? 'Cause he's crazy.
Yeah,
did you fall for that?
I didn't. I actually, well, again, I did my homework and I watched King of Comedy, and King of Comedy does show you some of that, but for me, the interesting part watching it the second time was that dance that I was talking about, the feminine dance that he was doing with part of his body. All those moments in which he was dancing triggered a hallucination. So anytime he danced, so at the beginning where he does the joke with his left hand, right? He says like he does the joke on the table. She knocks on the door. And then after he kills the people and he goes into the bathroom and starts dancing in there, he goes and walks over to her apartment and makes out with her. And so every time you see a depiction of that, you see him dancing prior to. And I think that's a really, again, very interesting depiction of the psychosis that he's having. So for me, I was very skeptical and I didn't get caught by it. But there were so many things that caught me in this movie. There's just so many things.
Did it catch you, Mike?
Yes, it did. And also like just how violent it became.
Yeah.
It just kind of like it was just shocking for me, and how it came out of nowhere.
Also,
came out of nowhere, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No. Yeah, how like the character that gave him the gun earlier in the film, he just gets stabbed in the eye. That's kind of like where it like goes into like American Psycho territory.
Yeah, that was Heather's favorite part, because
that was my favorite part
because the little guy has it like he was so scared. and Arthur had to open the door for
Yeah,
him.
yeah. Everyone in my theater laughed at that scene.
Which,
as well.
by the way, again, everyone was uncomfortably laughing, right? That's
Yeah.
what you were saying, Heather.
You know what? A lot of people didn't laugh in our theater at that. I think,
Really?
like,
People were like, we were the weirdos laughing at that, and
Oh.
it didn't bother me at all because I have a really dark sense of humor, and I was like, okay, you guys are just not on that plane. That's fine. You're really uncomfortable, but it was just, it was such a, it's something that I would direct because I love. It's almost cheesy,
Yeah.
but it was just a perfect tension breaking moment, and
but it still created tension because he like.
yes, I
he's-
was with him because he's.
Well, he
he's
does. He
like,
does go.
is
He does go
terrified.
boo at him.
Yes. But this character is terrified. I mean, he just watched something so horrific.
Yeah.
Right. And then he's the realization, like, is he going to, you're with him.
Yeah.
Is he going to kill me? And then the moment of like, oh my God, I have to walk past him.
Yes.
And then he does scare
And he
him.
has to ask.
I mean, I was with him that whole time and I was dying because I was just there. And then as soon as he got to the door, I remembered about the latch and I was like, ha!
But
It was so great.
But see, and that's my whole my whole point. One is you don't feel empathy for Arthur. You felt empathy for the character that
Right.
was
Yes.
opposed to the So that's important. The second thing is the Joker in the comics and in everything always has sympathy for little people. Because he's also a freak, so he also I was like I know in my mind I knew he was safe, but I was like,
Right.
but he might still fucking kill him. Like I'm just like
It's unpredictable.
yeah, it's so unpredictable, and this movie does a good job of all those without even notifying you that there is a jump scare about to happen. The moment that I jump scared and laughed was the moment where he's talking to the police and they're belittling him, going like, is that laugh actually a thing or is that just a gimmick? You know, and he walks away and he slams
yes.
into the door.
Oh yeah.
And I jumped. I literally jumped out of my seat, going And it wasn't this moment of terrifyingness, but it was a real
It was
moment.
But
I
it
actually
was
had
also
no
like a
jump
gag.
scares in this movie.
I jumped.
We talked about how we were talking about after we saw it that there was no jump scares.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
laughed
no,
really
you
hard
had
at
asked
him.
if this is considered a horror movie because you're doing your horror movie list of October. And I
all
was like,
the movies
and I was like, no, this is not a horror movie because there's like no jump scares.
So can I go back a little bit and can I ask you
Well-
guys, does he kill Sophia?
no.
It implies. Yeah.
Oh
I
wait.
don't know.
Is that his mother?
No.
No.
Well, clearly he kills his mother.
The
Right.
imaginary girlfriend.
No,
He's not-
I've
No,
on the
he didn't.
did not.
Well,
kill
did
him.
not.
You don't know. It
You don't
leaves
know.
it leaves it open. You don't know.
And I think he does.
you don't know. Yeah.
Because
kinda-
right after that, he goes and starts painting himself, and he's in this moment of mania. He's in that moment of like serenity, and so I think he actually does kill her.
No, I think, but he started to realize that he was hallucinating, and the only way he could find out the truth if he was by going to her and seeing her reaction because he didn't look at her.
I don't think
once.
he knew. I don't think he knew he was.
I think
hallucinating.
he was. He started to,
I-
but because it was like okay, am I hallucinating or not?
Yeah,
And
he
then
read about his mom having
Right.
delusions,
The
and he was like,
delusions.
"Wait a minute,
So
am I doing?
am I
this
doing the same
too?"
thing exactly?" And then when he realized that he is, it's like, well, you know what? Fuck it, and that's where he like let himself be free
and kill her.
and
I think he killed her. I think
I really don't.
no. I
don't think
honestly
so
think
either.
he walked
But
away.
that's the brilliance of it. Is
Yes,
we
agreed.
We don't know.
made it.
Agreed.
How would you think that he killed her or not?
I felt like it was implied because if I'm not mistaken, right before then he had killed his mother, right?
Yes.
So like at that point he's just on a killing spree.
yeah,
and
and he tells her, "I had a bad day," which is a notorious Joker.
and right before like it cuts to the scene of him leaving her apartment, he does the gun thing. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of like
it's
you're
implied
gonna
that
die.
he's yeah.
Well,
So-
that's like what he did right before he ended up. I mean, that was his whole thing. He kept putting the gun in his mouth, like an imaginary gun, or actually the real gun in his mouth.
Yeah.
But then he ended up shooting Murray.
Right, which of course is his whole purpose was to go on stage and commit suicide up until Murray pisses him off.
Right.
Yeah,
but I think that whole moment is actually like that that's when it becomes Joker, obviously.
Yeah.
So at that point, you're really only getting those last. I don't know how long would you say that is? Like maybe like about 20 minutes. You're getting 20
Yes.
minutes of the full on like
Joker, yeah.
crazy Joker.
You're like watching him.
So this audience, let us know what you think. Did he kill Sophie, or which is Zazie Beetz' character, or not?
Yeah.
I want to know your interpretation of the film.
Yeah, I would love to know. I
Yeah.
think personally he walks away from that scene, and he does, but they don't show it to you because that would be a line that doesn't need to be crossed, because the next following scene is when he accepts himself as a Joker and kills his friend. So the big guy.
Can I talk about the thing that bothers
Yes,
on,
go
hold
ahead.
on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, I wanted to talk about one thing that I did also liked
Okay.
a lot. Now, I really liked, like I had mentioned in the spoiler-free section, how they had interpreted Thomas Wayne.
Yeah.
And I really liked how it was implied that Frances Conroy's the mother was sleeping around with Thomas Wayne, and that technically maybe that Arthur Fleck is related to is the son of Thomas Wayne.
Well, hold on,
They
except
sure
he's adopted.
looked alike.
Right.
Except he's adopted. So
Right.
no, that's actually not the case.
I like how they played with it.
No,
though. Yeah.
no. See, that's the thing, though. Thomas Wayne is such a powerful man. It could have. He could have.
If she was, if Arthur's mother was obsessed with Thomas Wayne enough, she could have tracked down that illegitimate baby just to have that connection to him, because she really deeply believed that they had an affair, and to give herself an actual piece of evidence, a
But
realism.
that's where for me
So
it was like because he is kind of an asshole.
He is, yeah.
And so I wouldn't be surprised if he did have all this to hush her up, so he can like keep his reputation, and like the truth is not really the truth, but we don't know really.
Yeah, I would argue that they aren't related, because if as you were saying,
but that's the thing.
No, I know, I agree.
You can argue
you
it.
can't.
You can. You can argue either way because we don't know.
Yeah, and that's again part of the Joker background, is that you don't know, and that's again the purpose of the Joker, is you don't have an actual background.
But it was fun to think that they could be brothers for a moment.
I thought so too. Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting depiction of that, and I was like, interesting, good way of playing with that. But again,
because these are like the 80s, like anything could be forged, anything could be made. It's like
no, I understand, but I would say that the way that she treated Arthur, by allowing him to be abused the way that he does, is not the way somebody who would find it a cherished thing, right? She wouldn't treat somebody who she cherishes, who is the son of Thomas Wayne, in that way. So that's where I was like, no, I think he's adopted, and I think that she didn't care enough to protect him, which is what led to the TBI to happen.
But she also has
her own mental illness. Yeah.
So there's no way of knowing.
Yeah,
And
there's no. Yeah. I mean, it's whatever's in the movie, right? And this is not comic book lore. It's just literally picking things up from where it comes from. What I oh, sorry, you were gonna say something.
Yeah, what you didn't like?
Oh, well, I did. Okay, so first I did like and I'm not super familiar with a lot of the Batman lore, honestly.
Sure,
just like the movies I've seen, that's really all I know. But I really enjoyed, for me, it was that's an interesting way to look at it, that the riots and everything and Joker's kind of, birth was what got the Waynes killed.
Yeah, I thought
when I saw the movie theater, I was like, oh shit, okay, pardon my French, but that was another like nice moment that got me,
which is I think really interesting, because that's also shooting back to 1989 Batman, because the Joker in that movie, that was Jack Nicholson, kills the Waynes,
Right.
And so I thought that was a really interesting homage or reference or whatever you want to call it, right? It was an Easter egg. Because it was like, that's actually in the original Jack Nicholson Joker, and I think I agree. I think that so the sentiment of this movie, and I think that overall the thesis of this movie, as I was saying for the previous review, was the quote at the very end before he kills Murray, is what do you get when you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and treats him like trash? You get what you fucking deserve, and it's like. That's the thesis of the movie, and again, as I was saying before about the way people are seeing it and criticizing it, this movie is that's a thesis. That's what the movie is trying to discuss. Is like mentally ill loners who don't have a society that's built around them to assist them. they fall through the cracks and they become our problem, and we need to help them. It's not a fixing issue, it's an assisting issue. And again, watching this movie, my biggest thing was like, I want to help him so badly because he could be helped. And he wasn't, and because of that, because Murray was belittling him, and then that's another thing about the movie that's really interesting. He has multiple father figures in this movie. He's got Thomas Wayne, he's got Murray, who was the initial father figure, and then he's got the mother figure. And it's when he kills his mom, when he confronts Thomas Wayne first, and he gets rejected by him, punched in the face, that he then goes to the mom and kills her. Which then follows, which for me, it was like, he has to kill Murray. There's no other way around this. He has to, because he's covering all his tracks, right? The Joker, the Heath Ledger Joker, you didn't know where he came from. And you have to see this Arthur Joker get to the point where he needs to kill Murray and become the Clown Prince of Gotham. And I was like, wow, that is a very interesting description of like his psychotic, his what he's going through. His it's all of that. It's so amazing. So I do have the description of the diagnosis of the Joker.
Yeah, go ahead and.
Did you want to talk about what bothered you?
Oh, just it's one moment, and it just, I mean, maybe it didn't bother anybody else, but he suffocates his mother with a pillow, and she's wearing her oxygen cannula. So that didn't work for me.
Gotcha.
Because she's still, I mean, I cannot imagine even pressing hard enough. I mean, if you could still suffocate her, it would have taken forever because she's still receiving pure oxygen into her nostrils.
So it's just a pet peeve for you.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, he could have had like a sadistic moment where he takes it off of her.
Yeah.
Like, I'm about to suffocate you. But so that when it came off, because the pillow came off and it's just sitting there, and I'm like,
Okay.
How did that work? She shouldn't be dead.
Yeah, that's a bit of a pet peeve.
Also, before we get there, JJ has. That's the thing that made him roll his eyes, was seeing the Waynes get killed again.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, it was a good twist, but I did not need to see it on screen again.
I agree.
Yeah.
I didn't need to see it, but it was an interesting bookmark.
Especially since we just had it a couple years ago with the Justice League or Batman v Superman.
But I'll tell you this much. I think it was needed because at the very end, when he's being interviewed by the therapist that he kills, he's laughing, and she asks, "What are you laughing at?" And he says, "It's a joke, but you wouldn't understand it." And I think that just reading that scene for what it is that he orphaned somebody else. He was orphaned himself, and he orphaned somebody else. And he was laughing at the fact that he did that to the Waynes.
Maybe.
So it was JJ that commented about seeing it again. What if they would have, because I knew instantly as soon as I saw the movie theater and them running out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe all you needed was them running out of it and passing the guy with the clown mask.
Sure.
And he like turns, and then that's it. Like you either get it or you don't.
Yeah, but you didn't. But see, if you lost that, you lose the reflection, right? Because the guy who's wearing the mask yells at, hey, Thomas Wayne,
you deserve what you get.
You get what you fucking deserve.
Get what you deserve, yeah.
He says the exact same quote that the Joker told Murray, and I thought that was interesting. Yeah. Again, watch it twice. You get a lot more of it.
I really want to watch it again. At least once more.
So is there a scene afterwards where Joker sees that that Thomas Wayne is killed, or does he know?
No, you don't. You don't get a.
So he doesn't know.
He doesn't know.
We don't know,
but theoretically,
we don't know
right? So
he
he gets crowned, and then you see him laughing in the insane asylum.
So theoretically, some time has passed because he had to be captured and
so he probably does know.
institutionalized.
Yeah.
But is he aware? Who knows?
Who knows?
It could be an illusion.
We're not sure what joke it is.
He's yeah, it's true. Yeah. Well, the killing joke. That's the joke he's laughing at. Yeah.
Do you want to go ahead and...
Yeah, so Ashley is my fiance, so I'm going to call her Ashley the therapist.
Hi.
So she wrote this because I asked her we went to go watch a movie, and I asked her, please diagnose him, because she does do therapy. And what she wrote was really interesting, and I thought that was just a really curious diagnosis of the character. So what she wrote is this. The biggest underlying issue for Joker is his history of trauma. This wasn't a single event of trauma. We have no idea about his life before being adopted. Then he was abandoned at a young age and experienced physical abuse so bad that he blocked it out of his memory. And that's true. He never remembered up until it reads it, and sustained a traumatic brain injury, which is what led to the laughter. Then he lived with a mother with unmedicated psychosis and a personality disorder, which then makes it more complex. This is a lifetime of complex and interpersonal trauma that irrevocably shaped his worldview, attachment style, thoughts, behaviors, etc. He's exceedingly passive, and even from the start of the movie, releases that anger in an aggressive format. Once he has a gun in his hand, it's a matter of time before he uses it to release the anger. And it's no surprise he finds it to be stress relieving and empowering to be in control for once. From a diagnosis perspective, it's of course difficult to diagnose based on a movie, and we don't know if the writers had a specific diagnosis in mind, but thought is that he appeared to be depressed. Oh, right. Her initial thought was that he appeared to be depressed and experiencing the delusions, which we could describe as schizoaffective disorder.
I knew it. I was going to say schizoaffective disorder.
Nice. Well done. I don't know much about TBIs, but I'd also be curious if there was a disorder that caused people to laugh like that. Joaquin Phoenix did come out and actually say that that's what he investigated.
Yeah, schizoaffective people, they have these tics as well.
Yeah.
Along with psychosis.
Yeah. Lastly, we have to keep in mind that Joker has always been written as a psychopath. In real life, psychopaths are born and not made. So here's the kicker of a question. Did the writers not know that? And their theory is that he turned into a psychopath? So I thought that was really curious. Or has he been a psychopath all along? In terms of this movie promoting violence, this is a movie that could help educate the general public about the need for mental health treatment for low-income individuals. However, this is also a movie that could resonate with those who identify with the Joker and could cause some to connect the ideas of violence and power as remedies to complex mental health problems. I would not recommend this movie to anyone with aggressive tendencies or suicidal tendencies in particular. So that's what she wrote. And I thought that was really interesting.
Thank you, Dr. Ash.
Cool. Thank you, Dr. Ash.
I mean, it's kind of this movie is along the lines of, you know how a lot of shooters or mass murderers, you know how we glorify them in the media, or it's just like the constant media storm. Like, I wish they would spend a lot less time talking about the assailants, or especially not naming them.
Yeah, agreed.
And the public deep dive into their life, because that adds to it. It's just as if someone who was already along this line might, this movie might be the fuel for that fire. It's the same thing as the media. So it's kind of unavoidable in our society.
It is. But it's. Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
No. Go on.
No, I was going to say that I think that the depiction of Arthur as a victim, and I think this movie does that really well, is that it shows him as a victim. You can't connect to him, but he's a victim.
That's what I was going to say. So what did you guys think about, because this series of events that create this moment that creates the Joker.
Yeah.
Right? He gets fired from his job.
Yes.
He gets the gun before he gets fired. He gets the gun. He gets fired from his job, and then he gets attacked.
He gets attacked. Which, interestingly enough, sorry to interrupt very quickly, he gets attacked by interrupting a rape. I thought that was interesting too.
Right.
Continue.
Some creepy guys. And it just so happens that these creepy guys that were assaulting this girl
were Wayne employees.
Were rich.
Yeah.
And that was my issue with this, is that it just so happened that these three guys were rich. So the people who were poor, that saw these rich people die, were like, yeah, fuck the rich, we're the poor.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have the same impact if it was like a homeless person attacking this girl, and then he killed the homeless person.
Yes.
So what do you guys think about this whole series of events happening from that one moment? That was, for me, it was like happenstance almost.
Yeah, well, I feel like in a huge way, and this is just a description of society, eventful moments get co-opted by movements, and I think that's what that's describing. If the person who killed the woman was a homeless person, nobody would have batted an eye, and that is what the Joker is saying at the very end. If it was me on the streets, nobody would bat an eye, but because these three rich men were killed, that becomes a talking point. And it's true. In the media, speaking a little bit about like with murderers, white women are the ones who are usually described in the media as like the victims. And so I think that's a description of that, where it's like people only talk about certain things if it's happening to a white male or a white female. And in this case, it really focused on the white males. So I think that, and then that gets co-opted by the movement that was happening already about the rich, overwhelming the poor. So I think that was really interesting. I thought that was perfect. That was well described.
And I think that it being happenstance is accurate, right? Because mental illness does not have to go this way, but it was a lack of treatment and circumstances. Because even with a lack of treatment, you may not end up, a violent psychopathic murderer, but with the right set of circumstances and a lack of treatment, this is where you could end up.
Didn't circumstance make the round table?
Oh, shut up. But all right, it's a good joke. But
they don't know the joke.
They don't know the joke. But here's the thing, though. I've met with
doesn't want them to know.
I've met with a lot of clients in which one bad event leads to multiple bad events, and that's how life is. Yeah. And if this man, if Arthur was in fact depressed, anything would have led down this path of terrible events happening after the other. And especially when he was unmedicated and he had nowhere to turn. He had no support system. You never saw him with friends. You never saw, except for the small person. You never saw him with anyone who actually cared about him. And I think that's
only in his imagination.
Yeah. And exactly.
Spoilers, Seinfeld.
Well, and then that imagination gets taken away because it's a hallucination. So anyways, yeah, it's a great movie. Go watch it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and give our final thoughts. Heather, any final thoughts about this film that you want to go and share before we sign off?
We've pretty much said it all. It's a really, it's a really great piece of cinema because it makes you uncomfortable. It surprises you. It's incredibly well done. The cinematography, the performances. It's a grade A movie. And I just really recommend watching it. And also, it's an interesting look at society. So, do it.
Mike?
Yeah, this isn't like a family comic book movie.
No.
This is a rated R film. Don't take the family to go see that. So keep that in mind. And I would say this is leaning more towards the hard R for violence and everything that's in there. So keep that in mind. But other than that, dine in.
And it's not a Deadpool type rated R movie.
Yeah.
Don't go expecting that.
Z?
It's funny because I walked out of this movie thinking about how I would compare this to the lexicon that is the comic book movie. And the only thing that comes close is Logan, but it leaves Logan far in the dust. This movie it's standalone.
I wouldn't compare it to Logan.
No.
That's just me personally.
But the
it's
grittiness.
The closest.
Yeah. Of the realistic depiction of the superhero world. And I think that this movie is a worth watch if you have a person in your family who might have a difficult time with this movie. Don't take them to watch it. I honestly didn't take my mom. I thought she was going to have a tough time with the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And so, just be aware that this movie really does force you to feel something. And so if you're watching it to get the popcorn experience, you're not going to get this with this movie. This movie is an Oscar movie. You're going to get a movie that's serious.
This is definitely a thinking man's comic book movie.
Yeah.
That's not even...
But it's not a comic book movie.
Thank you for interrupting.
Oh, you did with me? Calm down, Dan.
No, I took it. You wouldn't stop talking if I didn't interrupt you. This is definitely a thinking man's comic book movie in the sense that it's not even a comic book film. But it's totally worth the watch. I really enjoyed it, and you should go watch it now.
I'm just imagining somebody taking their mom to see it, and then they watch the scene where Joker's suffocating his mom, and they look to their son, and he's holding a pillow.
Wow, Mike, you are super dark right now.
Yeah.
How recently did you watch this? Because
where's your mom, Mike?
She's safe.
Okay. Are you sure?
I'm not crazy.
Okay.
Take all the
Don't
pillows.
worry.
We know that's a lie.
That is a lie. I am crazy. But
you know what? I would also say watch it twice. Guys, go watch it again. Honestly, go watch it again.
There's so many things that I'm really interested to
Well,
reevaluate.
it's an amazing depiction of someone who's going through mental illness and their demise. and it's realistic. It's hard to watch, but it's also interesting to watch.
Yeah.
It's a slow burn, but I think it's a slow burn to a big explosion in the end.
Well, I would even argue. Well, okay, yes,
Multiple.
Yeah.
Less explosions, more stabs. And
Right.
bullet. Yeah? No, okay.
Though I don't think it's the perfect film, but it is a film that's worth getting nominated for.
Interesting. Okay.
Thank you so much, Heather, for being on the show.
yeah. Thanks, Heather.
Anytime.
Thank you,
really
Heather.
Appreciate. And I also want to give a shout out to our crew member.
Yeah,
Eric. Eric, really quick, shout what you thought of the film. A dine-in, leftovers, takeout.
So dine in, watch it in theaters. Leftovers, wait to watch it at home. I mean,
No.
take out, wait to watch it at home. I've only been doing this 4 years.
And leftovers.
Take out, wait and watch it at
Leftovers,
home.
avoid the film.
Leftovers, avoid the film.
Hard
dine-in.
dine-in.
Good
There you
man,
go.
good
There
man.
you go.
Thank you so much, Mike. as
Thank
well.
you, Dan.
Thank you for being here, as always. Thank you so much, Z.
Yep.
And I'm Dan the Man Muñoz, the host of Movie Menu Reviews. We will be back next week now that we have started the season. We started the season right with the Joker.
Yes.
So we will be here every week. So stay tuned for new episodes where you could go ahead and watch us on Facebook Live,
Yeah.
or you could listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher,
Catch us
SoundCloud,
on YouTube.
or YouTube as well. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we are there. As well as follow us on social media. Go to our Facebook page, Instagram. We have behind-the-scenes photos on there, and our Twitter as well. And then also go to our website, moviemenupodcast.com. Until next time, thank you guys. Goodbye here, goodbye here,
Goodbye.
and goodbye out there. Thank you so much.
Bye.
A 2, a 3, a 4.
See you later.
Let's keep it.